Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And here I am, making my way downtown, walking slow, something, and I am not homebound. And wow, as soon as I start recording, the first car on this road appears. Fantastic. Great. Well, the reason I'm heading downtown today, actually, is because I've been challenged. I don't recall if this happened this week or last week, but essentially what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scroll around. I believe I saw the item that I'm looking for in one of the charity shops down by the high street. I just have to remember which one. But the item in question I'm looking for today is the book called The Inheritance Games, because in an episode of Book Talk, I was pinged by KW herself, and because saying that I had been challenged, and then the challenge, which I kind of saw coming, was to find things wrong with the book. Now I'm gonna have to say, whenever I review something, whatever medium it is, I'm not just like out to nitpick things most of the time for the sake of it. Most of the time it happens because the more I like something, the more that I dissect it and try to find things wrong with it in a review format. I'm not used to going out my way on my own and finding things that is with the intention of nitpicking. Rather, you know, I can definitely point out the good things and the bad once I actually see them. But yeah, it feels strange. I guess it feels strange because I'm picking up a book with the intention of analysing it this time, rather than what I normally do. Yeah, who knows? Lots of I've considered doing book reviews in the past, although I definitely could not do the way that KW does, where it's like a brief synopsis of everything, potentially without any spoilers. That's not my style. So if I do end up doing this challenge, whether I find the book today, if I don't find it today, I can get it on Amazon or something. I will absolutely be looking for, but you know, consider that formula for the future. I was actually downtown a couple of days ago, or maybe like 3 or so. But that was for an entirely different reason. I was planning to look for the Inheritance Games book there. However, my main purpose of going there was because actually I was meeting up with an old friend. Yes, I actually do in fact meet up with people IRL occasionally. There you go. I don't know if anyone remembers, but a while ago, like 2018, I did a video reacting to some unlisted content that I have with Sophie Locke, that was, and I say the full name because that was already the title, so I presume that hopefully she's still okay with that, otherwise I can cut this out. I said that because there's a chance she might be watching. So, you know, she apparently has been following certain aspects of the channel, such as Walking Wednesday. Like I've said, there's a bit of a separation between the people who have found my channel, you know, just online, versus people who actually know me. Which I guess was like the first major distinction as soon as the first Athmal theory that I did blew up. Because then suddenly there were those two camps, because everyone before that just sort of mostly knew me in real life. I think I had like 56 subscribers at the time, and Sophie was number 25. And the reason I did a face reveal. So, yeah. Basically, if you remember that person, it's that person. So, yeah, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Since I actually went off to drama school, in fact, we've tried to meet up on a couple of occasions, but they just didn't actually end up working out. And then, I can't remember exactly how we decided this now. I think I might have just commented on an Instagram story and opened up DMs or something like that. I have no clue. But yeah, I guess I finally used something other than Discord to contact people. Apologies to those who have been trying to voice act outside of that particular sphere. Still not the most convenient thing for me, but again, it's not like Sophie would have known that, or, you know, well, I'm gonna ask, oh yeah, you know, please move onto Discord specifically to contact me. That's like, no, of course not, I wouldn't do that. So yeah, we actually met up, and I like to say we caught up on what was going on in our lives, but again, it's been nearly 6 years, like 5 and a bit. So yeah, we didn't even come close to updating on like everything. And also we had to cut the meeting short because it turns out that that her mum wanted to do some shopping and actually came in very early because otherwise it would have been dark. I also postponed to the afternoon because I said the afternoon was more convenient for me rather than the morning. Yeah. A lot happened. Well, I say a lot happened. I guess not as much as we anticipated would have, but things did. So, yeah. Should I go down this path today? The path to downtown's that way, but that's like a huge... Nah, probably not. If I trip, I have one hand to stabilize myself. Another time. I say another time, I only ever come around here when I'm filming. I'm gonna have to consider that. Next time I have an errand in the town, I'll be sure to go on a non-recording day. We have a route that we can sort of go down to when we want to scroll through charity shops as a family. But it's usually the exact same one. So yeah, anyway. So that meeting was cut short, and then I eventually just I guess I decided not to go back at that point. Coming to think of it, I could have just got the book when I returned upwards. Maybe I you know what, I have no idea. I might have been doing things on the day or something. Because actually, it has been an interesting week behind the scenes as well. Because out of the blue, a lot of the Mutant Girl voice actors came through with their lines, and the ones that hadn't and had either mic problems or life commitments and such took a little bit longer, but they too have sent stuff in. So I have everyone except for Raina right now, and that's because Shorty has been sick, and therefore I gave him an extension, an undefined extension actually, but yeah, extension nonetheless. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently he's I say apparently he's doing better. I was actually on a recording session with him yesterday, which brings me on to the topic that might have been the title of this video, somewhere along these lines. Hazbin Hotel. I have avoided Hazbin Hotel for about 4 years. Not because... Actually, not about 4 years. I think I avoided it as soon as I heard of it, which might have been like 2 years ago, or maybe 3. The reason I avoided it was because I got a request to review it, and specifically I was told to review it on the Butter Bunch, because it is very adult themed in its content, so would not have suited the main channel. And so yeah, I was setting it aside, and I avoided like everything to do with it or any discussions on the topic and such until such a time as we essentially it sort of came back into the public eye for a number of reasons all at once, and I remembered about it. Because yeah, the thing is, when you avoid stuff on YouTube, it doesn't get recommended to you anymore. So because of that, though, I didn't end up seeing anything, and so it just slipped my mind entirely. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, for reasons that became apparent, I did in fact hear about the Verbal A's video, and not to dwell on that too much because people have talked about that a lot, and actually Verbal A's himself has now I say addressed it, but not really. If you don't know what's happened, just look up Verbal A's, and you'll probably get some sort of connection. But yeah, So I heard about that, and as soon as I was like, oh wow, okay, so I forgot entirely that I was going to watch this. So, okay, well, this is a topic. Let's see if we can actually get some reviews out of this. Well, I guess a review of the pilot, because that's all that was out at this point. So then I message BB, who I think was the person who first recommended that I watch Hazbin Hotel. It might have been Shorty, actually, but Shorty was still sick by this point. So I message BB and say, hey, should we do this? And then BB starts saying, okay, well, maybe we should wait about it. Now, one thing to know about YouTube is the longer that you wait to talk about a trending topic, the less trending that topic can become. It depends if more information about the original topic comes to light and what other contributions people can make as to whether or not it continues in that same light. But the earliest you get the video out, the more chance that it, has to pick up traction as the topic continues to trend. So naturally I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? Let's do this as soon as possible. Why would we wait? To which BB then replies to me saying that tomorrow, as in tomorrow whenever the message was, the first few actual episodes of Hazbin Hotel were releasing on Prime Video. At which point I was like, you're telling me that you would rather wait until more people have picked up on these things, might have different work days or something, versus having a video early and deciding to getting that recommendation open, because the algorithm doesn't promote videos immediately. It takes a while for them to pick up. That's why it's like a 48-hour period in which the videos on YouTube will get most of their viewer base most of the time. So I was like, well, there's no way. To BB's credit, she thought I was going to do everything in one sitting, which no, because this was for a stream, mind you, which means I'd probably be starting around 10ish to get an account for the 2-hour time, which is the midnight peak time for viewership would kick in the butter bunch, and also because that's my usual time for streaming in the first place. I don't want to be covering every single thing that ever existed in something. If there's like vast amount of content in one sitting. I used to do much longer streams back when I was trying to achieve 4,000 watch hours on this channel, because I was trying to achieve 4,000 watch hours on this channel. Admittedly, the watch hours have been like at a steady pace and have like mildly declined as of January, because January is always the time when watch hours will decline on YouTube anyway, so that's expected. But also because last year's January was also when I was like picking up, so it's like balancing right now. It's like a little bit of a delicate act, but by no means am I stagnating to the point where I need to start grinding again, especially on a separate channel that is already doing much better in terms of gaining watch hours than the main channel is, with fewer videos. So yeah, I had no reason to make a super long stream that would potentially make other viewers get bored, limit the viewer retention on those videos, and therefore be less recommended and less reach fewer people than otherwise. People can see like a timestamp on a certain video, and they will decide, along with the thumbnail and title and everything else, whether or not they're going to watch that video. So I always make sure that to give like as much of an option as possible. Like an hour is already pushing it for a lot of people, and I understand that, but I'm not sure if BB does as of yet. So yeah, we did the video for the pilot and for the music video that was out at the time, and then we inevitably did have to wait for a bit, but only because we actually what was I gonna say? Yeah, only because we had like other work commitments, and also Shorty said that he wanted to join. So it turned out that he was getting better. So we waited again to make sure that he was, you know, nice and healthy, and everyone was fine with the day. And yesterday we did the recording session of episode 1. So yeah, didn't get much further than that because again, there's 4 of us, and we like to talk on the Butter Bunch, or any channel. Seems that making a channel with the most talkative people that I knew at the time, the most active ones, are very advantageous in many ways. However, in this case, yeah, not so much. So yeah, we've it took some time, and admittedly, you know, Shorty's still recovering, so yeah, those radio lines might not come in for a while. Aiden also asked for Alana ones immediately for Fallen Angels, and so I was like, I'm not going to overwhelm you, because the more stuff that you, like, you know, commit to, the more you're gonna, more risk you are being like overwhelmed by all the different tasks and such. But yeah, as far as Hazbin Hotel itself goes, it's been an interesting journey because I'm catching up on a bunch of things that I might have like vaguely heard in the past. Like, I think that there's a line in the pilot where one of the characters says, "I don't touch the gays," and I'm fairly certain I've heard that line before somewhere. I think maybe Aiden himself might have quoted it. Because I heard the line, but it was like while I was pausing, and so I had to rewind, but I heard it, and Aiden was like, no, we gotta go back. And I guess also some other vague references that I could think, okay, not that I'm gonna repeat them here, but I'm thinking, yeah, I've heard this now, it's all coming together. So yeah, it all came together, and then it all moved forward in some ways. One of the big debates that we have on the Butter Bunch is whether or not the pilot is canon right now. From my perspective, episode 1, it seems, thus far, has not contradicted anything that the canon, sorry, the pilot has presented. Now, Aiden and Shorty have actually seen all 4 episodes that are out as of the time of this recording. So, I can't say for certain that will continue, and Aiden's the one who keeps saying, you know, the pilot isn't canon, yada yada yada. So yeah, I leave that to them to deliberate about. There's also a few other discussions that we talked about, and deliberation that we like, no, we're not going to talk about this, so I'm going to cut this out of the video because it's pre-recorded. We pre-recorded because we don't want to get you know, any videos taken down or anything. So yeah, that's why we didn't do a stream of it this time, because I've been there before, and that's for sure. Never again, no more. I was gonna try and go aside. There's a surprising amount of cars today. Anyway, sorry, I'm still rhyming. Jeez. What was I going to say? Did it again, dang it. But yeah, and also, whenever I go into blind reactions of things, most of the time I haven't looked into, like, behind-the-scenes info. If I know behind-the-scenes info, I will mention it or talk about it, because I want to pretend that I don't necessarily. But for the most part, I try to judge things just as they're presented. So BB, when talking about like first doing like the pilot reaction, was saying was asking if we're going to address the Vivsy Pop drama, which I still don't know what that's about, by the way. Apparently, it's your classic things that happened in past coming back on Twitter. Cancellation may ensue, or something. I will say, however, the timing is rather convenient. Considering that I didn't know that the episodes were going to be releasing the day after we had that conversation, it becomes very interesting to think that, oh wow, this is all being talked about now. It's sort of like interesting enough how BB herself waited until a certain moment in terms of when Polar Bear, for example, was, I don't know, something happened. Polar Bear made some sort of announcement of like a new thing for his channel, and that's when the Polar folder came out. If you don't remember, the Polar folder was a folder that BB compiled together with, I think, some help from Shorty. I could be wrong, but don't quote me. You know, talking about all of the documenting much of evidence of Polar's various wrongdoings, and was posted as on Twitter. At the time that came out, I said that, oh well, BB had finished the folder a while ago, but she was waiting for a moment in time when Polar would be had like something else to say. I don't know, whatever it might have been. But a moment when all the attention would have been on him, and yet only released it on Twitter and didn't talk about it on the main platform that Polar was known for, aka YouTube. And that's what I critiqued the publication of the Polar folder for. Not because of the content itself that was inside it. I did in fact read a bunch of it and I was appalled by my findings. But the actual timing of it, I remember I said on Walking Wednesday that just publishing it on Twitter, it was going to do something, because again, it's a great place to go if you want to, you know, cancel someone or expose someone, whatever it might be. However, it is still not Polar's main platform. I can't remember exactly how much of a follower base he had at the time on Twitter, but I believe on YouTube he was at 7,000 subscribers. There's a huge difference between a platform of 7,000 people that follow you versus, I think it may have been a few hundred or something. And yes, those are the ones who would have been closest to Polar. However, BB's also one of those people who talked about how, you know, that is a fan of boycotting problematic people. I mean, I believe I've mentioned in the past Sky Does Everything and how much admiration I put onto them at the time, until the allegations came out, and I've not watched a single video on the Sky Does Everything channel ever since. I was considering watching the I'm Back one just to see the updates, but again, I don't want to contribute in any sort of way, in a way that will like directly influence them, because a lot of that came out was rather horrible. So I can understand that, but only going to Twitter is denying other people the chance to make that exact same decision. And they're the ones that are giving Polar the platform, the influence, and honestly probably the reason that a lot of the inner circle were incentivized to join him in the first place. I know for a fact that when BB and Shorty both first met Polar, and joined the production team, Ice Cube Studios, they were incredibly excited, not only because of the connection to Sam Gladiator, as far as the sequel series that was going on at the time, but also because of the wider platform. So again, I feel like it was very important, and I'm still not sure if BB really understands how a lot of SEO and algorithm promotion actually works, because with that example and the Hazbin example there, I feel like some of it she gets and some of it is just like, what on earth is going on here? So with that context aside, because I made a whole video about Polar folder, you can look it up if you want. I think it's just called the Polar folder, both with like 2 R's versus ER. But that was the only discussion of that on YouTube itself, and I was barely involved with a bunch of that. I was in Ice Cube Studios, but yeah, I was not in the inner circle. I was not actively engaging with a lot of the other members there. Most I did like a couple of episodes script writing for a project I think also got cancelled. So yeah, ultimately my contributions mattered very little. But yeah, back to Hazbin. That was a bit of a detour. So I forgot I was saying something about like the cancellation stuff and how it was like very conveniently timed. That was it. I was talking about like the timing of that. Sorry, because one thing I do commend the poll for was I guess people was waiting for a moment when it would have the most impact if it was the wrong platform. But yeah, rather than dwell on that, it seems like okay now when Vivzy Pop was going to be at one of strongest moments, suddenly then now come up with a bunch of this stuff at the same time as the critiques for the actual series came about. We did talk about something in the reaction, as you may or may not see, about how the entire cast, practically from the pilot, was replaced. And one of the quotes that stood out for BB was the fact that I think it was the vocal director said, "It's amazing how one of the most famous indie projects has got rid of what made it indie in the first place, by means of like a lot of people being involved, like they're being picked up by two major production companies that have teamed up together to be presented. That'll make sense if you watch the video." And that is a fairly good point. But as for the content itself, I can see that a lot of people, the rest of the Butter Bunch were really adamant about the changes that were involved, not just like the voice cast, but also that and how essentially like a lot of people were in their eyes downgrades from the original. I didn't really have much of a weigh in because I only watched the pilot like 2 days beforehand, so it wasn't like I was hugely connected to a lot of the marketing or fan base of Hazbin Hotel, which involved a lot of the cast presentations. I watched a few of the Oh Ashley playlist streams at the time, or compilations from them of the Oh Ashley joke, just because it was one of my personal favorite things to do is to embarrass people in that way. I passed the shop that I was supposed to get to, by the way, but I will loop round to it eventually. Not really needed for right now. I could just continue to talk, because there was more stuff I had to say that I thought than I realized. Oh well. But yeah, as for the actual episodes itself versus the pilot, I mean, there are a few things that have been worth mentioning, especially with the character of Adam, I suppose, which is a new character that's been introduced for the first episode. But yeah, the pilot did the pilot in the first episode hand themselves in subtly different ways, but they are, at least to me anyway, recognizable as the same thing. I've also been recommended a bunch of YouTube videos that I've not clicked on again, talking about the apparent downgrades and how, I think there's one video called like how to destroy your premise in 2 minutes or something like that, with a thumbnail that says the hotel doesn't matter. And to me it seems, from watching the first episode alone, the hotel very much does matter. So I guess I will check that video out once I maybe seen like one more episode. I can't remember who it's by actually, but yeah, we'll see. We'll get there. For now, though, I don't really. The main thing I have to say about the depictions is like I like how the pilot introduces things through musical numbers rather than having the opening expositional narration reminiscent of Shrek. But yeah, for the most part, I was still very much on board with a lot of the humor. The writing seems similar to before. I mean, it's never really been my thing anyway because of the adult humor and such. It's and very much leans in that direction. So if you're considering watching it, you haven't done so already, chances are that most of you should not for some time. But that was really it. I mean, as far as I am physically capable of enjoying that type of humor and story, etc. Yeah, I was on board for that ride. I don't know. Yeah, maybe if I was a bit more, I'd been a bit more invested or a bit more within like the hype of it, I might think differently. But yeah, you'll get to see the actual thoughts when the Butter Bunch video actually comes out, because I've got to edit that now, and it's 2 hours long. Hooray! It won't be 2 hours long when I actually show the video, because I'm gonna, you know, make the cuts and such. So yeah, I think the other thing I was going to talk about this week was to do with like the actual things that are going on this channel, which I guess as far as live streams go, I've been like interrupted by the Butter Bunch stuff. That's why I've been doing so many streams, because of Hazbin. But yeah, the ones that I have done, it seems to have aligned with something I said in previous weeks about like the trichotomy of Gacha. I used to call it a dichotomy, where you know, some people would fall on either having fantastic visuals, or you know, pushing forward with visual content and the story being quite lacking, or or having actually a potent story and then, you know, not so great visuals, for example. And yeah, this week seems to have kind of both confirmed and subverted that for me in ways, because like the mini movie that we watched, or the movie I suppose, Winter's Quest, Winter's Approaching, whatever it might have been called, that one was a case of, it seems at the time, to within like the first half of it, to really do a really great job. I mean, there's a few logical flaws, or maybe not some great wording, but other than that, it actually had a twist that we didn't see coming, a very decent setup, some highly engaging world building, and an entire training montage, and then the payoff just destroyed all of that. It's the same as Beauty is Pain in that way, as far as wasting its own opportunity, except for Beauty is Pain didn't actually have as high a production as this, so it feels almost more disappointing in a way to come to that conclusion. And then I went back to The Green Knight, a thing that had been, up until then, again, also decent with its world building, decent with its setup. I enjoyed the character dynamics. It just wasn't very visual heavy, but it was from a person who I knew was going to evolve and continue to grow, because he's one of my favorite gacha channels, and one of the ones who pushed me to greater heights visually, for the remake that is coming out this year. Not for the remake, but for the original video that is being remade. So yeah, in a lot of ways, very, very influential. But I had not watched The Green Knight yet, and I was just still enjoying myself just as much, if not possibly more than things like Not Your Average Girl, because in that one I was like, what on earth is this setup? Even though I did stay for the story and I was highly engaged with it. Don't really know what else to say in that regard, so but then episodes 6 and 7, again, they seem to just drop the ball all of a sudden. Once the major story and lore elements come in, and the anime tropes start emerging in spades, and also the not so great anime tropes at the same time. Yeah, it suddenly became, okay, you're trying to use all these different tropes without the setups they entailed. You're trying to amalgamate a bunch of things into this one thing that you've seen now, but you don't have the story that you had up until this point, halfway through the season, was not substantiated by it. So you're about halfway through the series now, and the Green Knight has seen better days, as apparently will the jazz pops in the future, because throughout the stream that I mentioned, Eli told me that, as he said in the description, there's our favourite episode in the series, in the season thus far, even though there was only 2 before it, and that had apparently changed, as he told me in the chat. In the chat, she said that I was kind of meh, and then everything else was a travesty. Pop Olympus was definitely the peak, which does not bode well. The next episode is all mermaid themed, and I'm excited about that one because I love mermaids. But yeah, what to anticipate now is the real question. But yeah, again, Jazz Pops, it sort of veers in that direction. You know what, Eli actually is the version from that Trichotomy. The Trichotomy actually was like, would have it be that it's none. You know, you don't have either the good visuals or the good story. That's what a lot of the more famous, for bad reasons, gacha content is, or was, because most of it was, you know, 5-6 years ago at this point now. But yeah, Eli, as far as like evolution goes, because I've also been watching more recent content from her, really is going in a good direction. Again, logical flaws, kind of expect that, but yeah, she's apparently has even gone to taken a film course to learn about the different compositing, different shots and such. And one of my big things, of course, number 2 camera angles, or whatever number it was that I mentioned in the tutorial. So that is great to see someone who is actually, you know, improving visually and through a story at the same time. That's what I want to do as well, because where I fell in the Trichotomy was better story versus worse visuals. So a lot of my evolution as a creator has been in the visual department, more so than I think the storytelling one. Although again, I was going to university for storytelling, for writing and drama, so I hope that I've still evolved in that regard. I see more so the visual stuff. It's more tangible for me because I know I can look at any video that I made back in the day for season 1. It's like, okay, this is what I would do now. I'm also learning another new technique. Much like I learned masking last year, there'll be something new that you will see, hopefully, if I get it right in the next episode. And I have most of the audio, so I'm actually been able to start on visuals in January. And that's a first, which is great because I need that time, because I'm using Gacha Life 2. So yeah, wish me luck in that regard. I think that's it though. I guess I didn't really have much of a point to talk about like the Trichotomy, other than the fact that it's a version I never actually wanted to see. And it comes at the sacrifice of the one that I keep saying the weight should be put on, which tends to be the story. I still think that even nowadays in modern gacha, if you have like a super potent story, you really can go to a certain extent. Even if the gacha community does value artistry and visuals more so than a lot of those elements, mostly because a lot of them are the best writers themselves. I personally think that, I mean, again, it's more of a case of longevity. Now I think about it, the visuals will draw people in. It's what a lot of people say about dating in a way, actually. You know, everyone mentions how, you know, attractiveness brings people in, and but personality makes them stay. I guess in that regard, you know, video content in general, not just gacha, is kind of similar. You have the visuals and, you know, the thumbnail, title, all that YouTube malarkey, and obviously the actual presentation of the video itself is what draws people in, but the stories themselves will make people stay. I mean, admittedly, the comments don't seem to be too critical of gacha stories most of the time, maybe out of an expectation of what they can achieve themselves. That's another phenomenon I want to address at some point, whether or not the idea that gacha stories are as perfect as they are is based on the standards that people think that they themselves can achieve as gacha tubers versus what is actually possible in like other media they might consume, like television or, you know, film, whatever it might be. But yeah, I don't have time to go into that today. I'm running out of camera space. But for now, I guess, yeah, in a way that is the case. A lot of people couldn't get past the videos of Early Mutant Girl, but they have stayed for nearly 5 years. So again, I think story does still carry a lot of weight and emphasis, because I've been criticized before about, like, you know, not necessarily ignoring like the lip sync evolution, or discarding Live 2D when that was a popular thing to start using for videos. In fact, Live 2D was using the Winter's one which I developed, but when it became a trend to use, because it was in development for 2 years. Not being so disappointing the way it turned out. But yeah, ultimately, if there is a way to do both, then yeah, but always lean on story. I still maintain that to this day, because I think it's much more rewarding to have the fan base that I can actually present to a friend that I have not seen since before I started making the show, and watch the look of pride on her face as far as you know, being able to seeing like just one piece of fan art out of the myriad that's been received over the years, and just hearing about some of the stories that I have of something that I am writing that people actually are engaged in, and that is an audience for, rather than just, you know, being a few people that I would show random books to in the at lunch in school, including her, and hoping for the future that would turn out the best way it could. Is this the best way that it could turn out? No, but there are far worse alternatives. And again, just seeing like, you know, the sheer pride that she had in me, that means a lot. I was kind of nervous to actually meet up with her again in case she would, you know, think differently. I mean, I was like, oh, what's become of you? I remember you were going to do all these different things or something, or have you been focusing all your time on? But no. That's obviously my problem. I didn't give her enough credit. Amazing person she was, is why we're friends in the first place, for crying out loud. Best friends, dare I say. In fact, she said so back in the day as well. But yeah, even that's a little bit of confirmation. It went a long way, and still is. Can't wait to show more of it, actually, because you haven't seen most of it. Unless you also think of the content itself, that's going to be another hurdle to cross. But I'm looking forward to it. But first, of course, I shall go back and pick up the Inheritance games. So please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. If you haven't done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.